Started leaving, and one person, they recruited this top chemist from Boston and relocated all the way to LA, and then when they found out he was leaving, they called him and fired him, and he said, I did not travel all this way from Boston to LA to get, punished like this. And so they really had to step in, upper management, the founders, take reign, and at the end of the day, and they had to bring in HR, and HR was not on site. They were off site.
Grace, this sounds like just a monster situation that, in fact, unfortunately, Mr. Hausman, many people might encounter. What do you do when the toxic worker is the toxic boss?
Yeah, I mean, it's really problematic there. We've done separate research on supervisors, and we found that your supervisor is, quite frankly, has the biggest impact of anything on your attrition, on your performance. So when you combine those two and you have a toxic boss, that's a really bad situation to be in. As far as the answer, I don't think there's any easy answer here. There's no magic bullets. I think, kind of letting people know, HR and talking to other coworkers and seeing if you can create that paper trail I mentioned before, that's one option. And then unfortunately, I think people realize it when they do exit interviews, when you can be really candid about why you left, and all of a sudden people are leaving because of this toxic boss. I think, especially in this situation, that's what might actually galvanize some sort of action.
And so many people are calling to talk about this and to post comments about it. Caller in downtown Los Angeles, a leader who's taking the team in the wrong direction and taking the fight and the vim out of everyone. And on the AirTalk page, Michelle said, in our small business, we had a toxic worker who'd been with the company over a dozen years, who terrorized the staff, presented a compliant face to the boss, but was eventually fired. And then people started coming forward. She said it took us almost a year to help the remaining employees heal from the experience. It was horrifying to learn of all the damage that was being done. This is really throwing down a challenge, Mr. Hausman, to HR departments, to top company leaders, to get people to come forward to talk about these toxic workers who may be in fear of their own positions if they do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, transparency and communication, that's where we're tending to see this space moving, and I think that helps, identify this behavior early on. And I think the other thing is when you do see the behavior that I mentioned, a lot of the examples that have been mentioned aren't as overtly toxic, but when there is some sort of, workplace violence or anything like that obviously has to be handled appropriately and needs to be communicated to HR as soon as possible. So at least in those cases, I think it is pretty cut and dry.
It seems like a disease that the longer you let it go on untended, the worse it's going to get. Michael Hausman is lead author of the Harvard Business School working paper looking at the personality profile of toxic workers. Title of the study, you heard more about it. John in Buena Park wonders, scary question, where do toxic workers belong? Screened out of the workplace. John, I don't know if I want to know the answer to that. Thanks so much to you, Michael Hausman. The AirTalk page still open to hear about your horror stories about your toxic colleagues. They may be quite true, or even worse. When we come back, we're going to be talking about dog medicine, how having a dog or any kind of pet can really help you along the path to cure your depression and even, as some studies are indicating, something like PTSD. Before that, we'll get to some news headlines with Hetty Lynn Hurties.
Pat, authorities in Georgia confirmed 2 more deaths after floodwaters swept through part of the state. Forecasters say more rain is expected today in Gordon County, about 60 miles northwest of Atlanta. Rain also causing problems along the Mississippi. Marty Pope is a flooding expert at the National Weather Service.
This is probably one of the earliest that we've seen a flood on the Mississippi River from this high. This is probably sort of a record probably for this time of year.
And in Texas, the Department of Transportation says many roads across the western part of the state and the Panhandle remain closed with snowpack and icy conditions. The LA County Department of Children and Family Services is coming under a watchful eye today over its spending on office equipment. The LA Times reports items they've recently acquired include $374 headsets and a $153 automatic tape dispenser. Records indicate the department spent about $350,000 in 2014 for supplies and equipment, double that for last year. The $700,000 they spent in 2015 is more than the probation department spent over the last 2 years. 2 people were killed early this morning in a collision in Hollywood. A car broadsided a Metro van near Hollywood and Gower, engulfing the van in flames. A Metro custodian died at the scene, while the driver died after being taken to the hospital. It's 12:43 at 89.3 KPCC.
KPCC partners include Homeboy Industries, helping men and women overcome their criminal pasts through reentry services, therapeutic programs, and job training. Now Homeboy Foods is a holiday catalog with everything from fresh tamales and pies for local pickup to cakes and pantry goods available for nationwide shipping, all made from scratch. You can learn how to join Homeboy and help empower every Angelino with the strength to change this holiday season.